Steve here at MidLifeADV1972. We're going to do a little longer video on the tires here. I'm going to do some measurements for you of the shinkos I put on, but I also want to show you what the tires I'm going to be running this summer are and give you a little, not a review because I haven't run them, but just give you a little look at them and compare them to the shinkos that I put on and studded. We'll just turn this around here, and again, if you watch the short, you know the bike. Of course, I still got the broken handguard. I don't know if I ever showed anyone that, just the factory handguards. I'll be putting bark busters on this summer before we go too far. I haven't really changed much else. Factory bash plate. Of course, the studded tires. I did put a cheap Amazon tail tidy on it, which works pretty good. The cool thing about it actually is when I hit something with these, they actually just kind of pop out and they're saved. They kind of hang there. Doesn't seem to really do anything. I pop them back in. But let's look at these tires first. And what did I decide to go with for the summer? Pull my chair over here. Of course, these are the shinkos that are, I think they were designed to kind of be like the Pirelli Scorpions. They were cheap. I can't remember how much they cost, but they were right around $100 to $125 Canadian each. I think they were a couple $100 Canadian for the pair, not much more than that. This is the front here. It's a Shinko. Like I said, I don't know the exact model. Has about 200 automotive screw-in studs in it. Hoping what this will do is extend my riding season a little bit. I'll be able to get out there a little earlier and not worry about icy spots on the paved roads, and maybe get me to more ice-covered dirt roads. Bundle up and do something like that. Got a digital tire gauge here. I'm just gonna put it right here. We'll zero it out and look what we got. Don't want to do it on the studs, but we'll go right between here. And it looks like we got about 6.8 millimeters. I don't know if that compares to the factory, but I'm sure it's pretty close. I did put about 8,000 kilometers on the factory Pirellis. And I thought these were a good tire to go with. And for what I'm going to do with them, I think they're probably great. I can take them off in the springtime and swap them out for something else, and I'm sure they'll have lots of tread for next fall when I want to extend the riding season into a little bit of the snowy weather. With all that, what I did do is I bought, I guess what would probably be considered more of a premium brand for the summer, and I switched up the on-off bias as far as it goes. I do believe with the little research, this Dunlop front 606 is kind of 60-40, more leaning towards the off-road being 60, but somebody might know more about that than me and might correct me on that. As far as tread depth goes, let's see what we got. We'll zero her out on here. And then let's just go across these two here. And it looks like we got about 10.65, which if I remember right, just going back here, we're probably about 4 millimeters thicker on the Dunlop. And I don't know this for sure. I don't know what how soft or hard this rubber is on either of them, but I would think we're probably maybe gonna get a little bit better on the Dunlop as far as mileage goes, but I don't know that. But they will definitely be way better off-road than the Shinko here or the Pirellis. So let's look what we got going on the back here. Pull my chair around with me. So the rear, definitely more off-road bias than either the cheaper Shinko or the Scorpions, the Pirellis here from the factory, which I said, like I said, we put over 8,000 kilometers on it. So you know what? They did me good, and The Pirellis are great on the highway, but I definitely want something a little bit more off-road bias going into the springtime. These are going to be way better in the mud and stuff. The Pirellis, with my limited off-road experience, kind of sucked. Put her down a couple times, and I might not have if I had had a better tire. But first, the Shinko, which is very similar. Like I said, it was cheap, so I didn't really feel bad about driving all these studs in it. And I'll put them back on in the fall to extend my riding season. But let's see what kind of tread depth we got here. So we zeroed it out. We'll go across here. Well, let's get off that rubber nipple there. We'll go off here, and it looks like we got about, oh, let's try that again. 0. We'll go right across here. It looks like we got about 9.82 millimeters. And let's go over here to the rear Dunlop. It's a D908RR, which I'm assuming stands for Rally Raid. And if I remember from the website, like I said, these are going to be much more off-road biased than either the stock Pirellis or the Shinko. But they were also much more money. I can't remember exactly what I paid, but I'm sure they were double the price. And with all that, let's see what kind of tread depth we got on here. First we'll zero it out, and then we're going to go across the big lugs here right in the center. Go on down. So we got about 12.82. 12.8 millimeters. So I think we're running about 3 millimeters more than the aftermarket Shinkos. But much more money, much more off-road bias, and a completely different tire. So that's just kind of a review of what we're going to go into in the spring. Once the roads clear off, I'll be putting these on. I did put new tubes in the Shinkos that I ordered. I was very careful, and I kept the old tubes that came stock. What I'm hoping to do is run those as spares. For the extra money, I'm not big on putting in used tubes, but those will be great spares. I don't know if I will swap in new tubes when I put on the Dunlops this spring, but I might. This gives me a peace of mind. And then I'll have a whole bunch of spare tubes laying around for an emergency in case I need them. I don't know if I showed anyone this, but when I was out this year, and I can't remember where I was, I might even have been in Utah. The giant loop bags here, which are kind of a premium bag. I went to tighten this right here. It was attached to here. Can't remember what I was going to attach to it, but I gave her a good pull, and this plastic, I'm not sure what you call it, but it's what you feed the nylon strap into, broke. So we're gonna have to address that. I think I was a little aggressive with it, but for the price of the giant loop stuff and their reputation, I would expect that not to happen, but it did. But such is life. So with all that, I think I'm going to do a little bit of work on the bike and probably get ready to go for a ride this afternoon, because it's supposed to be in the plus range Celsius this afternoon. So I'm assuming at least the paved roads will be clear and ice free. It might get me to a little bit of a more ice covered logging road that I can do a little bit of riding today and keep my mind clear. And with all that, I just want to remind everybody, well, first of all, I want to thank everybody. I'm getting a few more views and a few more viewers and subscribers. So if you do like this channel and you want to see more just real me and what I'm doing in my midlife, subscribe. It might help me to grow and help me out a little bit. I don't know that for sure, but I enjoy doing it anyways. And I just want to remind everybody, you're never too old to do cool shit. Peace.